Hi, this is Pastor Wanda B. Praise God. Wanda Belvin from Inspirations with Pastor Wanda B. podcast. I just would like to just share briefly the awesome experience I have been having with Kim Parkinson. When I say she is dynamite in the Lord and in what she knows her stuff. She's very smart. She's patient. She's intelligent, just very easygoing and giving you the instructions you need to not only learn how to do podcasting if you know nothing about it, which I didn't other than they're out there. I mean, she doesn't make you feel like a dummy. She encouraged you throughout the process. So I am so thankful for this divine connection that the Lord did through Kim, and we're still working, and I have been learning so much so fast. If you're familiar with YouTube, sometimes you can get a YouTube video and the person is either too out there or too down there, and it's just like, okay, you just need that even personality to help you to base yourself, ground yourself, if you would. And Kim has been that for me. I'm a visual learner, and she's very patient. So
Smile, you are now on candid camera. At least that is what I say to a lot of people when I listen to their podcast. Now, it's not always true, right? I have an audio only podcast and right now only putting out a limited series on YouTube. Maybe I do a YouTube video once in a while. And I do a lot of tutorials for sure for clients, but I like to think that when you are listening to me, you can hear the genuine smile on my voice in my head. You can hear me and see me, maybe even with that big smile on my face. And I really want to dive deep into this today because I wasn't even planning this episode. I have a bunch of other episodes planned, but someone that I really don't even know reached out to me on Facebook. I'm not even sure that they are a listener to the podcast, but they reached out to me on Facebook and they said, "Hey, I just did this interview and I would love for your feedback." And again, I'm not even sure. I really want to say that the feedback was more in regards to not necessarily me being a podcast growth strategist, but me being someone that they could ask a sale from. I'm sure we've all gotten those, right? Hey, listen to this interview, or hey, can you click on this link and tell me what you think? Those type of people, right? But I was intrigued because I was like, this is what I do. So I would love to. I would love to know what she's talking about. And so I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go listen. And let me just say, my very first thought, literally 3 minutes in, was actually, no, let me back that up. It was 1 minute and 14 seconds in. 1 minute and 14 seconds in. I haven't even listened to the 15-minute podcast yet, but the very first thing I said was, I need to do a podcast episode about this because I can't hear her smile. I can't hear the happiness. I can't hear her genuine love and want and desire to share with me the news and the information that she was really trying to share with me. And I was like, you know what? I can't hear that. And if I can't hear that, other people can't hear that. And it's not just because I have an ear for sound for doing podcast episodes, but she's sending these out to people, asking them because she wants a sale. And then she is kind of falling flat on the smile, on the happiness, on the authenticity, the genuineness of being her. And when I thought about that, I said, can I hear any kind of smile? And this is again 1 minute and 14 seconds in, and there was none. And honestly, I don't even know what to say about this. How do I say something? How can you put out a podcast, even if it's a somber podcast? Let's just get right into that, right? Let's go that route and say maybe this podcast they're going to talk about something that's very tough, a very tough topic, and maybe you don't want to smile because it's somber, right? It's something that maybe it is something that you know that people need to have an understanding that you are being understanding about this. Again, that's two understandings in one, but you're being understanding about this topic. You're being respectful of this topic, but that still does not mean that you can't have different tonality and inflection and cadence to your voice. And that is what this entire episode is about today. So, my name is Kim Parkinson. You're listening to Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. And let me just mention before we really dive in here that if you feel like you maybe are one of these people that aren't getting that cadence right, aren't getting those inflections right, aren't getting the tonality right, and you're not calling in the right people, I want you to reach out to me, Kim at kpcreativemedia.com. And I want you to just give me like a little message and be like, hey, I need a little bit of guidance with my voice. I need to know, can you listen to this and see, can you hear my genuine smile? Because maybe it's possible that there are some people out there that just really aren't sure if others can hear that smile in them. Maybe they don't have an editor, or maybe they don't edit their own and they're like, you know what? I'm not sure. Can you hear my smile? Can I? Can you? I want to know. And that is something that I'm happy to help you with. So send me a message, Kim at kpcreativemedia.com, and just put in there, smile as the subject line. And then let me know what your podcast is or what interview you might have done. And you're like, am I smiling? Can you hear this? So, all right. So back to what I wanted to talk about. And you want to still have that something in your voice that says you're the expert and that you know what you're talking about. I understand your dilemma. I understand your issue. I understand what it is that you're talking about. And I am here for you. I am kindness embodied. I am embodying happiness for you in this trying time. I'm here to support, guide, uplift, whatever that might be. Even if you're talking about something that can be really hard to talk about. Now, I think that a lot of times people, maybe a couple things might happen here. Maybe you're just like, another interview or another podcast episode that I have to put out. And you're just like, I'm just going to do this, get it out of my way. And then I got to go make dinner, or I gotta go bring the kids to the doctors, or I have 1,001 things to do. This is the last thing on my list. But remember your listeners. Remember who you are trying to reach, who you are trying to bring into your fold, bring into your life. If that is the very first episode that someone has ever listened to, and you are sounding really doldrummy, like you don't have any kind of personality, you really just don't want to be here today, and I'm just trying to get this episode out, that's going to come across like that. And then people are going to say, what? I don't want to listen to any more of this. And honestly, 1 minute and 14 seconds in, I kind of feel like that already about this particular episode. And so I really want you to know that your attitude, your smile, your everything does come out in your voice. Your voice is the opening to your life, right? It's the opening to your, they say the eyes are the windows to your soul. Well, your voice is that opening to you and knowing who you are and having people understand you. And if you are just showcasing this very low key, no energy type of person, if that is how you are, and that is the people that you're calling in, please take this with a grain of salt and just go with it. Absolutely. Totally get that. Totally understand. You could be that type of person. But if you are not that type of person and you are usually a bubbly go getter, you're usually a happy person, maybe you are somebody that's like, hey, can you listen to this podcast and give me your advice? That is then going to be the type of person I believe that's going to say, I want people to be attracted to me. I want people to be attracted to the one thing that they can make any kind of an opinion on while they're listening to a podcast. And that is my voice. That is the knowledge, the wisdom, and the excitement, the happiness, the the genuine feelings that I'm trying to convey in my voice. Now, sure, you could be like, I'm not a voice actor, this is just how I talk, but let's talk about this a little bit, right? Let's talk about your voice a little bit. We have a brand new kitten, Miss Lady. I shouldn't even say her name's not Miss. It's Lady Penny Bun Von Bun Bun, because we name our animals very unique names. So Lady Penny Bun, Penny for short. When I talk to Penny, I don't just say, hey, Penny, or I don't just say, Penny. I say, hey, Penny, how are you today? It's just such a cute little kitten. Literally, she is probably less than a pound. And she is smaller than my purse. And I have just a wristlet for a purse. Okay. So she's about 13 weeks old and she is absolutely tiny. And I don't come in here and just go, Penny. I use my cutesy voice, right? I use the little voice. So you can make cutesy voices because I know you've made cutesy voices to baby kittens, dogs, babies, maybe. Maybe you talk like that to your plants. I know people that like will legitimately talk to their plants. I like to talk to my plants. I had to move my plants from my office because Penny's new place is my office until she's settled into the house. But right now, I'm making cutesy little noises to Penny. And you can make cutesy little noises too. So there's an octave, there's a change in your voice when you do that. When you are having a serious conversation with your husband or your children or your significant other or, yourself even maybe, you have a different cadence to your voice. You have a different inflection. You have all these different pieces. And then you go to the grocery store and you say, hi, to the person that is checking out your groceries. I mean, maybe you're doing self checkout, but if you're talking to anybody, a teller at the bank, someone at your pharmacist, the grocery store, maybe you're buying a Happy Meal at McDonald's. I'm not even sure. I don't buy them, but I'm saying you will have like that, a different inflection to your voice. But hey, how are you? Hopefully you're being, a genuinely nice person, especially if, say, you're walking in to your next session of Reiki and your Reiki person is there and you're walking in and they say, hey, how have you been? And you're like, I got a couple of aches and pains and I really want to work through this with you today. That's a different inflection. That's more of a concerning, more of a, I have some kind of something I need to talk to you about type thing, right? You say the same things maybe to your massage therapist or the person that does your facial, or if you have a therapist. I have all of these people, by the way. I actually regularly even see a woman about my flower essences. And that woman and I have an amazing, amazing relationship. Her name is Kristen Buckley, and she owns Soul Bloom Alchemy. I almost always want to say Academy, but it's Soul Bloom Alchemy in Situate, Massachusetts. And I see her maybe quarterly. And every time I see her, we have all sorts of types of conversations with all sorts of types of inflections in our voices. So obviously, when I first see her, it is a, hey, Kristen, so good to see you. Big hugs, big happy smiles, all that. We sit down, we have a little conversation, just a genuine conversation about like what's going on in our lives. How are your kids? How are my kids? That type things. She and I have kids about the same age and they're both boys. So it's very easy conversation for us. And then she gets maybe into the tell me what's going on. Why, what do you feel like you might need today? I'm going to do my reading, but I'm definitely interested. When she gets to her reading, she gets very serious, right? She gets very like, I'm doing the scrolling. I'm doing the pendulum. I'm listening to my inner peace and I'm listening to your inner peace and I'm trying to connect them. Her inflection changes. And then if something gets a hit, she'll ask. And if it is something personal that I feel like, yeah, this is serious, my voice changes, my inflection changes, my mood might even change. And so that is definitely something that she can pick up on. And yes, we might be sitting across from one another, although she does do Zoom readings now, but she is innately listening to my voice as she is watching the pendulum swing. She's not really paying attention to my facial features. She's not really paying attention to my body language, maybe peripherally, right? But what I'm trying to get at here is that you are not seeing my body language right now. You are not seeing me and my facial features right now, but you're listening to my voice and you can hear the differences between when I first meet Kristen and get all giddy and happy and excited, when we have just our regular conversation, and then when she asks hard questions, that changes. That changes. And so that's going to change in your podcast as well, depending on the conversation you're having with your audience. Whether or not you are even in an interview, maybe that interview is with something very serious and you want to make sure that your audience knows that this is serious. So, how do you convey that? Through the voice, through your way of talking. But you can still make it interesting and you can still make it something that is captivating to your audience. You want your audience to understand that while this might be a tough conversation, while this might be an insanely hard topic for some people, I'm still here to help guide you. If that is your modality, if that is what your podcast is about, if that is what that particular episode is about. If it is not, and this is a lighthearted conversation, then it should still remain that way. It should be, hey, nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you're on the show today. Welcome. And let me ask you, can you tell me more about yourself and what it is that you do? Rather than, thanks for being on today. Could you tell me more about your life and what you do? Yeah, that's boring. And that is a great way for people to just be like, click, moving on. So, all this information for me to tell you, your voice really does matter. Your way that you talk really does draw in the people you want to be in your world. So if you want very serious people in your world, stay very serious. But if you want people that want to love you and want to be part of your world the way you are, smile, smile and talk. Have some really great conversations that have some maybe excitement, when you talk really fast and you're excited about something, or maybe it is when you're not quite sure and you're being tentative and you really want to drill down that point. So you leave a lot of pregnant pauses, a lot of reflection, a lot of something to think about. Yep, I just did it there again. Just changed the way I talk. And I know that you can too, because we've all had those conversations with those little kittens, and we've had those conversations with our therapists and our flower essence ladies. Maybe you have. And you have had those conversations even with, say, a doctor with a hard conversation, or you've had a really great, fun conversation with a little kid at a playground who is just learning what a butterfly is for the very first time. You know that there are multiple ways for your voice to change. And if I can give you anything, Regardless of whether or not your conversation is on video or it is just audio, make your voice count. Make your voice matter and show through your voice, through those audio waves, whether or not they're watching or whether or not they're listening, show them what you're about by just bringing some liveliness, some excitement, some more modest conversation if need be, but be true to yourself and make sure that you have those ups and downs throughout your conversation so people can really hear who you really and truly are. So make sure that you're using your voice and you're smiling, regardless of whether or not you're on candid camera or not. But we want to make sure that your audience understands and truly loves the person you are and what you bring to the world. All right. My name's Kim Parkinson. You've been listening to Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business, where your voice flows, your business grows. And today, make sure your voice is flowing. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me today. If you're ready to deepen your visibility and grow your podcast in a way that feels aligned, come join my email list at kpcreativemedia.com/newsletter, where I share exclusive guidance, support, and next steps. And if this episode resonated, I'd be so honored if you left a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the most powerful ways to support the show and help other spiritual women discover it. Until next time, keep showing up and sharing your voice.